Welcome. My name is Brian, and this is Chris, and we are with the Fiberglass At Fiberglass we are a composite structural truck body manufacturer. Today, what we're going to be doing is showing you how simple it is to assemble one of our do-it-yourself kits. Okay, the kits today are what you're going to see is in the kit. It comes with all of the pre-cut fiberglass parts and pieces, and they've all been roughed up, ready to go to gluing or bonding or epoxy. So in the kit, we send a West System epoxy resin and hardener. We send with it the pump kits that go in these. So it's very important with epoxies that you have a very defined mixed ratio of resin to hardener. So these pumps make it simple and easy. It's one pump of resin to one pump of hardener. You're ready to roll. You also get with the kit is our thickening powder. This is so we're able to change the viscosity of the epoxy to make it easier to laminate. Along with that, you get your mixing cups, stir sticks, your paint brushes if you elect to go that direction. The acetone we do not ship. That is not something you'll need to pick up at your local hardware store or Home Depot, Lowe's type store. Structural fiberglass, a lot of people are unaware of it, but we've got I-beams, channels, angles, plate stock, round tube, square tube. We build almost anything out of fiberglass that you can build out of steel or aluminum. Again, today it would not be a surprise if you said, I'm going to start welding my steel flatbed together. Well, today we're going to show you in a matter of minutes, all right, an hour and 20 minutes, you can physically build one of our kits. Chris is in this. Chris is going to display how easy it is to cut. Hopefully our kits are precise enough that it'd be very minimal to no cutting on it. But if you do have to cut, you can take your skill saw, your 4-inch grinder. You can take your miter box, put a diamond blade on it, and this is how easy it cuts. Safety gear. We always tell people when you're laminating, you want to wear gloves to keep the epoxies away from your skin. You always wear eye protection and a respirator. So Chris is going to show you how easy it is. The composites are just so easy to cut with. And so anyhow, you see that we use files a lot for sanding, sandpaper, and guys, other than that, it's pretty straightforward. So the main part of this is our Ballistic series truck body, okay? And the main strength and the main part of our truck body is the truck bed. In this, we use 1/2 inch ballistic plate. It is UL rated to stop a .44 Magnum bullet, and it is also the same plate that is running under the Hummers over in the Middle East to stop roadside bombs. We've selected this because we don't want to build truck beds that dent. We don't build truck beds that rust, and we can lighten the load of your truck over an OEM bed, dramatically lighten the truck over a steel bed to give you higher payload capacities. And for the first time, you can weight-wise, you can make a composite flatbed body work on a mini truck or a 1500 series truck. Today in the market, if you went out and bought a steel body to put on a 1500 series truck, you have no payload. You've put every ounce of weight that thing can carry by putting the body on it. So it becomes almost a worthless truck. So what happens is now we're lightening up the trucks to where now all of a sudden they're increasing the payloads and can even go to smaller trucks. So join us as we get going. Okay, the first step we need in this whole process is we need some type of a work table to be able to start laying out the deck of the truck body. Again, we're going to build this truck body upside down, let the epoxies and the harden and dry, and then we flip it over and can work the truck body. We've done something very simple. This is just a 2x6 framework that we build out and on blocks so we can raise it up and down depending on how tall we're working with somebody. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to lay out our plate. As you can see, guys, if this was a 1/2 inch steel plate, Chris and I wouldn't be moving it. All right, so when you lay your plate out here, the first thing we want to do is have a little bit of overlap on both sides and up in here to where we can work all the sides of the plate. So now the next thing we're going to do is slide this right up and join it. Make it even on both sides. And that's, all right. Okay, you can see we've laid the plate stock out of the decking of the bed. We're even on both sides. We've left a good margin around. So this whole truck bed itself only has 12 parts. This is really simple and fast, guys. So what we do, again, it's got this has an I-beam side rail. We do this and also a rectangular smooth side rail. All of the pieces are pre-mitered. They're roughed up, ready for epoxy, and they're labeled. Guess what? A goes to A. We lay it on here. What we're trying to do right now is just do a general dry layup. You need to have, we're checking to make sure of very precise levels. Okay. We're checking for very precise cuts and miters and just the overall tolerances. So what I've tried to do in the cutting of this is we want your framework to be just slightly outside of the edge of the half-inch plate. It's much easier to try to sand this 1/4 inch of material here than to try to sand the some 1/8 or 1/16 of the ballistic plate off. So as we lay all these pieces in, and again, they're all numbered again. So this is D and D. Again, just watching our profiles all around. We want to make sure that this length is the plate and the notch we've cut out for the headache rack is in the same dimension. We have the 2 plates here, so this joint we have to double plate it. So what we have here is this is our joint plate. It's already roughed up on the bottom. You see it's been already cut and mortised out to overlay the part of the I-beam here that we're going to cause it issues. But we're just laying it in here to check to make sure we don't have any restrictions. Again, pushing everything up on the sides to make sure that the outsides, that it's not going to try to push us further. We want to make sure everything's cut exactly where we want it. Now the next thing we're going to do is we pick up, again, all of these structural members are already, this is H, going to H there. Again, we're just checking to see if there's any restrictions on anything. So one last time, we're just kind of walking around, checking it, feeling the reveals on where the I-beam ends on the outside edge to the plate, trying to make sure everything is lined up, just kind of walking around. Again, if the I-beam's hanging out a little bit, that's fine. That's what we want. So we want the I-beam to be out beyond the plate by a minor amount so we can sand in on that. Guys, that's all there is. It's 12 or 13 pieces. Now we're ready to go to glue. Okay. Now that we've done the dry layout, we're going to go back and start mixing epoxies. Again, the kit comes with an epoxy resin. Okay. And we typically send the fast hardener with it. If you're in a really hot environment in the August in the middle of Mississippi, we may want to go to the slow hardener, but typically the fast hardener is where we go. The epoxies need to have a very consistent mix of resin to the hardener instead of trying to go through all the ounces and the equations. It's just really easy. 1 squirt of resin, 1 squirt of hardener. 2 squirts of resin, another squirt of hardener. So now we go back, just keep going back and forth. We typically like to do about 3 squirts at a time because it's easy to manage and easy to work with. So the next thing we do is we mix it up. You'll see it turning a complete amber color. So it needs to be mixed thoroughly. And as you can see, it's the consistency of K-Rose syrup, or like almost a maple syrup. which is pretty tough to work with at that type of consistency. So this is back to the thickening powder we have. Okay, we pour this in, and we're gonna, what I like to do is I like to have more of a paste, somewhere toothpaste consistency, you know, soft butter consistency, and it's just much easier to work with than instead of running all over the place. It'll tend to stick where you put it. So you can see you just have to kind of roll over and roll it instead of stirring it. Again, we're mixing, and you'll notice again we've got gloves on to keep the epoxies off our hands. Just not a healthy thing to do, not to protect yourself with a little bit of fiberglass or plastic on your hands. All right, you can see how it's starting to thicken up. Starting to look like pancake batter. Still a little bit more as I try to overflow my cup. There we start. That's right where I want it. You can see the consistency is like is much thicker, so it's not going to run all over with us like that. Then we also want to keep the acetone we talked about around. That's the way you clean up wet epoxies. So we keep the acetone open and some paper shop towels in case we need cleanups. From there, we're ready to start going to starting to laminate. Okay, as you can see, Chris has got his mixed and I've got mine mixed. The next thing to do is make sure that you've got everything, all the dust and everything. You want to make sure these are dry. Anytime you have a wet epoxies or any kind of resins will not stick to oily or wet substrate. So we have to make sure they're dry. Other than that, it's just pretty simple. Get all the dust off of it, and we're ready to start gluing. So what's going to happen, Chris is going to start gluing the pieces. Again, remember, all the pieces are coated. I got the place where the part A goes, and A is here, C to C. So we're able to just go through. You can have two different people out doing two different things, and you know where the parts of the pieces go. At this stage of the game, you can either use a paintbrush or you can go back and use the stick. I find it's much faster to use the stick in laminating. Chris, before we go, no, we've got to glue both sides. Flip it upside, just lay it there. I don't want them put on. I'm going to go ahead and glue them in place. All right, hang on before we do that. No, we want to go right over here, Chris. We got to glue. We got to get these plates together. So we got to get glue on this seam. And just for education, guys, it's 9:30 on my watch. We're going to see how long this takes. And you're not trying to build up a thick film on this. It's just you're just trying to get a good coverage. Make sure if there's any voids or holes in the plate that you've got epoxy slid in it. And you always do both sides of whatever you're trying to laminate. Make sure you don't have any dust or you feel any chunks, anything that when we slide these plates together, you know, a chunk of fiberglass or something, who knows what, can hold you apart. We want a good solid seam. you can see, the epoxy goes pretty quick. You want to be as clean as you can with it. The more things you touch and get epoxy on, the more cleanup you got. All right. Okay, let's make sure that that's in for our notch. Then we're going to just slide these two together, nice and easy. And you see there's a little offset here. We'll take care of that when we slide the plate. All right, now back to all the trim. Yeah, I'd like you to start doing this. What I'm doing is I'm laying this down. Just making sure I got full coverage on everything. And we're pretty fortunate this morning. The temperatures are probably in the low 60s. We're going to be able to spread more of this. Spread more of the epoxy out without the worry that it's going to start setting up quickly. If you were in a 75, 85, 90 degree day, you're only going to be able to put 2 or 3 pieces of glue. We're probably going to I'm going to glue the whole exterior at one time this morning because the temperatures will allow us to do it. And Chris is just trying to stay ahead of me with having the parts and pieces laminated on the other side. As you can see, when I put the epoxy on, I'm covering up my numbers. So I've got to remember this is C and D on this side because I'm starting to not be able to see it. Hopefully you can see that by having this thicker consistency that you can pull is much easier to work with than a runny epoxy. So the thickening agents are very very helpful in just making this epoxying opportunity glued together. So again, it's one resin, one hardener, one resin, one hardener, a resin, and a hardener. And you got to mix it up good. If you don't mix the hardener and the resin before you pour the powder in it, you won't get a very, very quality mix. So it's always important to mix your resin and your hardener together. Make sure you have this nice amber color throughout and you don't see any streaks of clear. And I try to put only one scoop of the powder in at a time because it's just easier to mix. If I get a lot of powder in the resin, it just wants to blow off before it mixes in. Now that we've got our second cups mixed, both Chris and I were out at about the same time. We're just going to continue coming around with the epoxy. Just make sure you have good coverage. The thinner the epoxy is with a good coverage, the stronger it's going to be. This is not like you're trying to build up and build strength in the epoxy. It's more of a bonding agent than a filler. Just a little tidbit of information for everybody. The epoxies in the last 15 or 20 years have just become incredibly strong. If we look, and we can thank a lot of that to the military and the aviation industry. Literally, there are some epoxies that I have access to that a 1 square inch of coverage, something about the size of your thumbnail, will hold up to a 10,000 pound vertical lift. And it's just really incredible to me when you sit and you look at the Apache helicopters and so many of the really high performance military aviation. It's all held together by epoxies, which saves weight. There's a much stronger hold than a weld or a rivet. Okay, Chris, how you coming over there?
Pretty good.
Guys, that's what we've got. The exterior boundary is done. Just going to kind of scoop my stuff, set it off to the side. All right, part A. Goes to part A, where it's marked for part A. What we do is squish it, wiggle it a little bit so we get a good firm, get all the air bubbles out of that. Just kind of walk along, take a look at it. I'm in place. Part C is going on part C. All right, now on these corners where they're mitered, we also have to epoxy the ends because where it joints on here, we've got to have epoxy in that joint for it to bond. So that's what I'm doing right here. So this is part C going into part. Again, we try to get it on both surfaces. Again, we don't want to be messy, but squeeze joints and stuff will be coming back and cleaning up in due time. All right, we've got that, Chris. Put my little glue cup. Again, I use stir sticks just because I feel like they're easier for me. The paintbrushes just seem to be get this all over the place, and I can't move this thickened resin as easily with a paintbrush. So anyhow, we're sitting in here, gluing, pressing and watching our margins on the outside all at the same time. All right. Got to make sure we got resin on all the ends that are going into these miters. Just watching the details. It's really simple. We just got to watch all the little details. Again, we're sliding it back and forth, trying to make sure we don't have any air pockets or any air bubbles in it. Just trying to slide these miters to the reveals that we had during the dry fit. You got to remember, we're trying to, if anything, we're trying to keep a slight overhang with the I-beam frame over the plate, because the I-beam, it's only 1/4 inch, the plate's 1/2 inch. It'd be easier to sand that way. Looks like Chris is getting into it with his hands now, which is another great method.
As long as you wear gloves.
That's right, as long as you get gloves on.
You want me to go with this cemetery snacks?
Yeah, you got enough stuff mixed up, or I'm going to have to. Okay. Give me just a little bit more in the end there. All right, as you can see, guys, just flying right along. Just constantly watching the reveals and everything on the ends. Guys, we've been gluing now just about 16 minutes, and we're probably half glued. All right, as we go through this, and we'll do more later, we'll start cleaning up all this stuff. You can feel the epoxy right now. It's starting to thicken up a little bit. So we'll go through and clean all this stuff up. But we're fortunate again this morning that the temperatures are cool, and all of a sudden it has more open time before it starts to harden. Chris, we're looking pretty good here.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we're on our third mixed cup of epoxies, and we're getting ready to do our seam plate. Again, the squeegee works really well. I can move a lot of epoxy pretty quickly, whereas a paintbrush on a thick product like this, some people like it. I prefer this. It's almost like, if anybody ever used any sheetrock mud, it's almost like pulling sheetrock mud. Okay, when we meet the edges here, you'll see where these side rails have been roughed up. Set that right there for the moment. They've been roughed up in here for the plate to go, the mortise on the plate to go over top, so we need to make sure we got a good amount of epoxy on that so it'll bond properly. How you coming with how much epoxy you got up?
Not much. I got to mix a little.
Why don't you go ahead and mix another thing right now, Chris, and I think we can start calculating how much before we both need to mix total ones. I'm going to need some here. You got about mixed there, or you? Okay, you can see Chris has already applied the epoxy to the bottom of this seal, this joint plate. We're in the mortises. He gets right at it with his hands, and that's why we got gloves. Make sure you get Chris. Make sure, see where that joint is. It looks a little open right there. Get some down in that crack. Get down in the crack. There you go. Yeah, get that crack filled up. Great. All right, this is pretty heavy, so you're going to need to help me. What's interesting about this bed, guys, is we weighed the two pieces of plate. Again, this is for a short wheelbase. Where are you going? There you go. Oh, you're moving me. Okay. What happened is when we go through, anyhow, these two pieces of plate total weigh less than 220 pounds. So that's where we're picking up a lot of the weight. As you can see, we had to slide that in, it pushed everything, so we just got to kind of go back and feel and work. And that'll happen again with all these. Chris, go ahead and start slapping mud in there for those. And I like to make sure that we have a good squeeze joint all along, just in the event that somebody's living in a climate that has water. I want to make sure water doesn't get in behind the plates. So just make sure we've got a good squeeze joint and it's closed. You can caulk it later or whatever, but just again, just trying to keep from any water penetration. Okay, we've already applied the glue on these. These are our cross members for strength. So we've already applied the glue in there. We're going to go ahead and lay them in place. Again, just get them in, kind of wiggle them, make sure we got a good glue joint. H goes into where the H is. Then you get it in, press it down, wiggle it a little bit, make sure it's in place. All right, guys. Chris, if you'll just go ahead and apply the epoxy to the header board. Before we do that, guys, this is an angle that, again, we're working on the bed upside down. This angle goes in here, so this angle is now the front lip for the truck body. So we're going to glue that, and that's the last piece. Kind of checking all our margins all along the outside. Seeing how we're looking. We can feel it starting to firm up. Okay. As I go along the outside where I have a squeeze joint, I'm trying to rub all of the epoxy that's running out of the joint.
You ready to put this in, Bryan?
Yeah, if you feel like it's in the right place, if you got the right spacing, perfect. I use the squeeze out kind of as a seam filler. So this epoxy is starting to thicken up like really thick toothpaste. We're trying to fill in any cracks that we see. That's why you got your gloves on again. You just sit there and kind of work it in. It's thick enough that it'll stay in a crack. Again, constantly feeling the reveals on the outside to make sure none of this stuff is moving. Liking what I feel. Just trying to minor adjustments. See if I got it beside me. Excuse me a second. Yes, sirree. We're looking good. Okay, from this point on, all we're going to start doing is taking acetone. You should take the acetone, put it on here, and just wipe down whatever you don't want to see. Remember, this is the bottom side of your bed, so you can be as clean or non-clean as you think you want to be. The acetone cleans this up. The epoxy is very simply. I tend to spend more time cleaning up the side rails than trying to get the little stuff off of the side rails versus the bottom of the truck. Whoever crawls underneath in the middle of the truck to go to the car show or whatever. Again, I just run my fingers along this stuff just to kind of make sure I've squeezed in, have a nice joint. The bottom side of the bed does not need to be painted, but we typically paint them just because they look better. Okay. Next, what I'm going to do is now we're going to clamp everything. So we've got a series of clamps. Just get it all slid back where you want it. Some people clamp early. I tend to clamp later. They don't need to be huge clamps, just something to make sure that when you walk away that you're not coming back in 2 hours time when it's dry and it's in the wrong place. What it also does is it helps squeeze the glue out, or the epoxy, so you can work it. Yeah, this epoxy's getting pretty, starting to act like she's going to heat up and set up on us. So it's a good thing. You can see we variety of C-clamps, hand clamps, whatever you've got in your shop. We're just trying to keep everything from floating around. Working my reveal for the last time. Again, just constantly feeling that reveal as I'm clamping. Alright. I guess we have one more clamp, I guess, for the...
Oh, C-clamp over there.
Okay. Got one last step to do. All right, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to put gravity to work for us. I like to put a little extra weight on the plate. So we've got 3 or 4 highly intelligent concrete blocks. They're going to be adding weight and pressure to it to hold it in place, because that seam is it's pretty important for strength. All right, well guys, there we are. On the clock, we've been about 42 minutes. We're all glued up. On a warm day like it's going to be today in the mid-70s, I would venture to say within 3 hours we could probably flip this bed and put it on its, flip it, so now we can start sanding and get ready to go through all of our finishing. And guys, that's all there is to it. It's just pretty straightforward, and hopefully you'll see it's as easy as we've tried to make it. Thank you so much. All right, guys, as you can see, we had some slight bowing in some of our cross sections, so we went to not to plan B, C, or D, but plan A. Gravity works. We just started loading some cement blocks off on them so we could pull these down while the epoxy was wet, that I had a good bond and good spacing between the plate and that. Guys, here we are probably in 2.5 to 3 hours. We can flip this thing over, paint it, or flip it over. This epoxy will set up in today's climate in about 2.5 to 3 hours. And you know, by this afternoon, it'll be finished painted. We'll flip it upside down and ready to start sanding, and we'll have a completed bed in what was a very short day for us. Thank you again for your time. Okay, you might notice we've just fast forwarded a little bit. Chris and I have changed clothes. It's a day later, 2 days later. What we did is, since the last videos, we noticed there was a little bit of gap between the plate and the structural members, so we mixed more epoxy and squeezed it in, so I had a really filled and firm joint between the epoxies and the plate. After that, we've come back with a 2-part polyurethane paint, painted it black, so this is our finished product on the bottom side of the bed. Okay, and once again, this bed, this is a 7-foot by 6'8" bed that is for a short wheelbase pickup truck. Now what we need to do is flip it upside down so we can finish the top side of the bed. So Chris and I, this total bed weighs in at about 220, 230 pounds. This is a very simple thing to do, but we really stress that you be very cautious with it. It may be a 2, 3, 4-man job depending on how large the bed is, or you may even need to have a forklift, or if you're building like a 12 or 14-foot bed, we're going to tell you it's probably not right to handle it by manpower. So anyhow, Chris, let's just try to get in here. We're going to cantilever it out. Let's do one more step. Okay, let's set her down, see if she hits those 2 to 6s. Okay. Chris, I'm going to pick up on the side. If you'll get that cart underneath of it. Lift it different. Okay, we need to get these 2 to 6s out. Whoa, Chris, don't pull that way. Just dance it around. Good. Chris, that way. Dance it around, nice and easy. Okay. Chris, I'm going to ask you to pull that card out again. Let it down. Pull the card out. Okay. Let her down all the way first. Chris, let's push it this way a little bit, nice and easy. Don't get it on that rail, get it over the rail. Okay. And that's it, guys. From there on out, we've got to sand our joint here, Got to work our corners, and we're ready for paint and or truck body on the top. And that's the end of the project with that going. We appreciate it.